has been like pretty rewarding and cool and fulfilling. Yeah.
When it comes to the videos, though, you haven't necessarily scaled the editing.
Oh, yeah. No. So, like, I still edit and write my own videos. You know, I have an assistant editor who goes through all, like, the raw footage and stuff and helps me. But, you know, even with the squirrel video, again, we're talking about that because it just got released, like, 12 hours ago. But, you know, we had so many hours of footage. And it was only till, like, 3 weeks ago that I finally sat down with all the footage and looked through it and said, all right, what's the story? You know? And so it's like, I feel like the story is found in the edit. Even if we do the world's longest field goal kicking robot, we take it out. I have general points I think I want to hit in the video. We'll go out and film it though, and whatever happens, happens. And the very last thing I do on the videos is film the intro and the parts where I'm like, so today we're going to go out and blah, blah, blah. It's because I know at that point what happened and what the important parts are. So I'm going to focus more on today. You know, let's say we kicked a really far field goal, but it wasn't accurate. Or the opposite. It was really accurate, but didn't go very far. Well, then I'm going to focus on the beginning. Like, today we're going to just try and, who cares about accuracy? We're going for the longest field goal kicking robot, right? Or if the opposite is true.
Yeah.
Today, you know what? Instead of just trying to kick it far, I'm all about accuracy, you know what I mean? So you can play to your strengths and craft the story around, like, the actual thing, right?
Would you ever let someone else find the story for you?
No, absolutely not. Because I love it and I think I'm good at it. This is something Kimmel always tells me about when I tell him I edit my own videos, and Beast as well. I hate that I know two Jimmys. Mr. Jimmy Donaldson Beast. Yeah. He's like, dude, you just have to have other people like they'll be able to do it better than you. And it's like, I don't know. I don't believe that still, even though I think they're probably right. But I enjoy it and I love it. And I feel like that's the secret sauce and the heart. And I feel like it would be so obvious to people if suddenly I was like outsourcing that. And it's just like what I love. That's the thing that I tell creators when it's like, when people are like, I feel like it applies to a lot of people who watch your stuff. Like they have the blueprint that it's like, okay, as soon as I get 10,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers, I need to quit my job. I need to take out a loan. I need to hire 10 people. I need to have an editor. And it's like, guess what? You're now a manager and you didn't get into this and you haven't been doing this for 4 years because you love being a manager. You like creating. And pretty soon you just find you're managing people and dealing with people problems and they're all depending on you for a paycheck and you're feeling all this stress and it's like sucked the fun and the creativity and the life out of it. And now it's not the Super Mario effect because when you die, it actually has real world implications.
Yeah.
So I think this is how we come back to your question, which is like, this is why I took so long to make it so there was real implications for failing. And by the time I did quit my job, I had enough money that there weren't that real implications for failing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I intentionally kept it so that
you had more lives.
There was more, I had more lives. I did that trick on level 3 too, where you know, on the turtle shell, you know? I'm like,
That's so interesting. It's like reducing the impact of failure or reducing the liability of failure. That's like so important to creativity.
I think that's right. You guys are Oprah. You're helping me find things about myself. I didn't know why I do it, but now I'm discovering things about my inner self. This idea of burnout too. I think this is the reason why I feel like I've never really been burnt out is because it's like, you know, I give the analogy and I have before where it's like this analogy of like on a treadmill where it's like it's really exciting and you're sprinting on this treadmill because you have all these things you're doing and you're hiring people and it is exciting and you get the dopamine hit to your brain and it's like, this is rad. But at some point you can't keep up that pace and the dopamine that comes from sprinting and being like, oh, I'm doing all these cool things wears off, but you still have to sprint because your treadmill's running at that speed. And like that is the definition of burnout when it's like you don't get the dopamine reward for the work that's going into it. So I'm very protective of my treadmill speed.
I love that.
That's fascinating that you don't get the same dopamine reward. Like that's so interesting because then you always have to push it more to get a new dopamine release.
Well, because your treadmill's at a sprint. By the way, this is like again how we've evolved. Like that's not a bug. That's a feature that the dopamine wears off because. Let's say you're a rabbit and or let's say you're a squirrel because that's more apropos.
Yeah, let's stay on squirrels.
Let's stay on brand here. And you eat a walnut and you feel that dopamine in your brain. And that is such a pleasurable experience from eating that thing that you keep that for like 3 weeks. This is the best walnut I've had, right? You don't have the motivation then to go out and to go find another walnut and to work hard to find another walnut for your family. Like there's a reason that dopamine feels good and then it wears off is because if you just rested on your laurels and just like, and you just feel that dopamine forever, that squirrel gets removed from the gene pool because other squirrels it's competing against find the next walnuts, and it's out of a meal. It's not motivated. It doesn't have to go find a squirrel because it doesn't feel motivated, right?
Yeah.
So that chemical reaction is actually the thing that motivate. It wants you to remember that was lovely, and then it wants to inspire you to go get that again so you can find the next meal and outcompete the other squirrels. And so that literally is like a feature, not a bug, of like how our brains work, that the dopamine wears off. But you have to know that, and therefore don't oversubscribe yourself and get to a point, because it will wear off.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to sustain that without like getting hosed.
It feels like that's very similar also to the photo that you have when you walk in here of your email when you first got comments on the iPad video.
Yeah.
Like you took a screenshot of, YouTube emailing you that there's a new comment on your first video ever. There's nothing that will ever compare to that dopamine release.
I know.
Even though it's 5 or 10 comments or whatever it was, 20 comments, the first 20 comments you got. I remember our first YouTube video, it had 300 views on it. And I remember my brother and I went out to lunch, and I felt on top of the world. And he was like, dude, 300 people sat and watched your video, and there was likes and comments, and I was like,
Was that in the 301 Plus era?
It was in the 301 Plus era.
Oh, even more.
You didn't even get, a little bit more, and it's like, who knows how many views?
Well, this classic Colin, trying to make me,
saying, not that that's not exciting.
trying to cut down my
But
dopamine
you were so
here.
close to it being really exciting.
One more view, and you would have assumed it was 10,000.
It stopped at 300. Sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on.
I don't even know what I was talking about now, man.
Mildly interesting.
No, your point is interesting though, where it's like the delta from, like, I still feel, to your point, I'm chasing that high of that first iPad video.
Yeah.
Is the delta from 0 to something is so much bigger than like, something to a little more something.
I mean, what did you do when you crossed 13 million subscribers?
I celebrated because 13 was such a milestone and it mattered to me. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Right. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
You have no idea, but you could probably remember a million.
Yeah, for sure. I remember a million. I remember 10 million. Yeah, 100%.
So like those, I do think we do get numb to it, and I've never heard it like that, but that's really interesting. And the second thing I wanted to say was that when we were brainstorming concepts and titles for this video, one that came to mind that we kept coming back to was why Mark Rober jogs and doesn't sprint. Just because it was coming off of our call with you, there was something very interesting about you've been so consistent across so many years, and you're not. You came across, even just in our short conversations with you, of someone who's not like, oh, this thing happened, I have to get a video out, I have to do this thing. You're like, you're jogging on this pace to,
I love it.
to beat.
Yeah.
You can just keep going because you're jogging at a comfortable pace.
Yeah, I think it's great. I wonder if that has
that might not translate to.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if it if the clickbait ability is just like, because jogging's more comfortable.
We're still working on it.
Mark, we're workshopping it. Yeah.
We're
just saying.
I mean,
conceptual.
Why do you around?
It was just why do you guys say views?
It's just thrown around.
That's a classic Jimmy text.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get it from Mark now.
Classic Jimmy.
Why do you hate views?
That's great.
The videos are absolutely the engine of this whole place, right? I mean, I'm curious if this is one of the most impressive spaces we've been to from a creator. If not, for me right now,
I was going to call you on one of, to be honest.
For me right now, I think the most impressive.
There we are.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just start you at the most.
Yeah, I'll just start that sentence over and say, this is the most impressive place I've been to when it comes to, a creator space. There's obviously a whole team in here. This is a huge place. Like, does all of this, can you pay for all of this just from YouTube AdSense?
Yeah, so like I started the company Crunch Labs.
Yeah.
I accepted no funding.
Got it.
It was all self-funded.
Self-financed.
This place was all self-financed. Crunch Labs has already paid me back. It's cash positive.
Wow.
But I mean, the answer is yeah. I mean, and this goes back again to being conservative. Like, if people wanted to give me money even to fund Crunch Labs, it's like, I don't want your money because now I feel like pressure.
Yeah.
Again, it's like I hadn't thought of it this way, but I guess I do frame stuff in a way that failure, even if it fails, it's not that big of a deal. And if I'm taking someone's money and they're mortgaging their house because they want to bet on Crunch Labs, now it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, no, like I don't want your money, and I'm not trying to be selfish. I just don't want to deal with that pressure. You know what I mean?
I'm curious when it comes to the financial side of the business, being that you are friends with people in traditional entertainment, like you are friends with Jimmy Kimmel, I'd be just curious to know, is there something that he didn't understand about the business of YouTube that he now knows and that you also have learned maybe about his business?
Oh, for sure. Like, I mean, he says that publicly, that like he saw a future in me before I saw it myself, even still, like, and he's like, we should do a TV show together. And he's like, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, he wasn't arrogant like that, but I think he expected me to be like, of course.
Yeah.
But he didn't understand, and we've had a lot of conversations. He's come to, I mean, it took like 3 long phone calls from him to convince me to even like, yeah, let's explore this, because it's like, I'll make way less money, fewer people will see it, and I won't have full creative control. Where do I sign, Jimmy? Like, this sounds amazing, right? And I think he's kind of come around to seeing, like, he's really getting the understanding of like the creator economy and the power that comes with that. And that was one of the reasons why I think, having seen that, he's like, you really need to do something like a Crunch Labs, you know? And so like I started going on that before you started seeing some of these other creators, like luckily, you know, also doing their own businesses that are kind of popping. I think 4 or 5 years from now, there's going to be a lot of articles about creators who are, you know, there will be billionaire creators,
right?
A handful of them, you know,
Yeah.
You'll just start seeing it more and more and more. The direct to consumer with your influencers, especially with the data darkness thing that's going on with like, you can't track.
Right. Yeah.
It used to be really easy
It's
to
not
just
easy to find audience
It's
online
not as easy
if you
to
don't
find
have
an
an
audience if you don't have it.
Can you explain that, the data darkness?
Basically, yeah, you could track people. You know, you could, Facebook collected everything. So if you if you had a widget and you wanted to find people who would want to buy that widget, it was pretty easy because they give you all the data and they say, I love widgets and here's my birthday. And here are the other things I like. It's really easy to find those audience. Now with the data darkness where you can't be tracked and stuff and cookie policy, it's harder to find those people. And so I was always like, I cannot believe brands pay me as much as they do to do these integrations, you know, before I had my own business. And now that I have my own business, I'm like, those SOBs were ripping me off.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
You know what I mean? It's like when you have your own audience and your own company you can pitch, then it's like, oh, like, yeah, I was making them more money than they were paying me. And they, you know what I mean? And sometimes you have the thing where they're like, well, it didn't perform as well as we wanted. It's like, no, dude, I know that's not true now, you know?
I think the other thing that creators should think about too, because that comes down to like how you price yourself as a creator, knowing your worth, knowing your value. Yeah. It's also like baked into the video forever.
Not really.
Well, no, I guess unless you're a creator who takes out the ads.
Yeah, I do. After a year, of course you do, because that increases your retention.
Yeah.
So whenever I do, this is advice to creators, make sure in your brand deals you say it's like it's up for a year. And then you can go back and slice out that portion and get rid of it.
You're only the second creator we've talked to
who does that.
that.
Oh, really?
First is Jimmy, and the second now.
I didn't even know Jimmy did it. But yeah, I realized like, of course that's the way to do it.
That's why we do these episodes.
But that's why we do these episodes, so we can learn.
Yeah.
If we look at the pie chart of like the Mark Rober business, what does that look like now?
Like revenue-wise?
Revenue-wise. AdSense, brand deals. You know, I don't know if you put Crunch Labs into that.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
if you put Crunch Labs, maybe 50-50 brand deals, AdSense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what is it for most creators?
I mean, it totally varies.
It varies.
Yeah.
There's some creators that are 80% AdSense, and there's other creators who, like us, I would say we're 10% AdSense. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And 90% brand deals.
90%, you know, partnerships with companies.
But you're much more like mass audience, I think, which lends itself to AdSense.
Yeah,
I think back to the concept of data darkness, like the value, as you remember or dig into what you're doing as a creator from a business perspective, is you're aggregating a certain group of people based on the content you're making, right? So for us, like we are making content that is, it'd be hard for you to be super interested in it if you aren't interested in the creator economy.
Yeah, that's right. You're like a definitely more niche.
So we're very niche. So that means if you're looking for a place to advertise to people who are in the creator economy.
Point. Then, that's a good point.
Right. So like that's where I think even as creators continue to build, like you can build a career with a niche audience if you're really specific, especially because it's harder to find the people who are interested in a certain thing.
That's right. That's a really good point. And so now if you are going to create, let's say your videos are like woodworking stuff, then you just need to find woodworking companies that will sponsor you too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now with Crunch Labs, like I'd say Crunch Labs is significantly more than the other stuff. And I think
significantly more than AdSense and brand deals. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's
that's a pretty short window for that to happen.
I mean, we sold out in like 5 days, and now we have a wait list of people who want, and that was in the order of tens of thousands of year-long subscriptions, and we have a wait list now that's pretty significantly long, and then we're going to relaunch at Christmas with like a lot of product. And most importantly, like we really poured our just guts into these it's a good product. Like there's nothing out there on the market where you get like this banger video that I try really hard on. The product itself alone is just a better product. And then you just have people who want, selling this concept of like, I'll help you to learn to think like an engineer. Parents are watching their kids be like so stoked to get these boxes, and who now are telling these parents facts about projectile motion, and who now say they want to be an engineer. Like, what parent isn't going to, first of all, continue that subscription the next year? Second of all, tell their friends and family about it.
It's interesting.
Gift it to someone else.
Gift it to someone else.
And now you're talking about the base premise of what you said makes a viral video idea, also makes a viral product idea.
Just makes a great product.
Just makes a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a visceral reaction. The kid is having a visceral reaction because you're transforming them.
That's right.
They receive these pieces. They watch the video, they follow along, they build something they can interact with. They can shoot the Frisbees out.
Yeah.
Right? And then the parent is having a visceral reaction being like, that was a good idea for me to buy that for my kid.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a good parent.
That's right.
And my kid is now doing something productive. They're learning, their minds,
right.
So it's like all across the board, there's all these visceral, tangible emotions that are happening that are causing the virality of this idea.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. And like going back to I feel incredibly grateful that this is like so aligned with the core of what I am and what I want to do and what my goals are. I think you can make great products and you can sell them and they're great products and they make people happy. But if it also strikes the chord of just like, it's so aligned with what I'm trying to do, it's a freaking lovely combination. Which is why I say no to so much stuff. Like, I'm very careful about what I say. I really try and swing from the fences and like pick my shots. And when this one kind of came around, I was like, oh yeah, this is a good one to just really swing for the fences for,
You've launched Crunch Labs. You now have a company, beyond the Mark Rober, I guess, media side of the business. You also mentioned that you think that there will be, billionaire creators because of this, because creators are launching companies. And I think, one thing Colin mentions a lot is around how this is the kind of entrepreneurship or product market fit flipped on its head, where, previously someone would create Crunch Labs. They would say, okay, I have these, I want to teach kids how to engineer. Now I need to go find an audience for them. But now it's the inverse, where it's, hey, I have this massive audience interested in building and engineering. Let me build a company around that premise, which is I think why we're heading towards billionaire creators.
Agreed.
Is being a billionaire one of your goals?
No.
Or do you care about that at all?
No. If I was even remotely close, like I wouldn't think of it as even my money. Like I don't think that, the idea of generational wealth is like you're so obviously punishing the people in your family who come after you. Like if I had a bunch of money, I would give my family like a very small amount and give the rest away. Like even the idea of legacy seems so dumb to me, where it's like, I want my name to mean something. It's like, yeah, you're giving your kids like an albatross, like around their neck, where it's like, if you're Tom Hanks' son, you will never be anything more interesting than Tom Hanks' son. Do you know what I mean? Like the idea of like, I'm going to name a building after me. So it's like, people know this name. It's like, you're going to be dead. Who cares? Like, so like, I am the opposite of all of that stuff. Where it's like, yeah, with the money thing, it seems so clear to me that like, you should figure out ways to give it back and pump it back and like do something with it than getting that 12th jet ski. I could
11
live
is
with
enough.
I can live with my modest 11. I don't need that 12.
Everyone is gonna think you have 11 jet skis, by the way. Yeah, just
for
so
the
you know.
record, I don't have 11 jet skis.
It's just 10.
It's
10. It's 10.
Please. Is it
It's a
crazy?
respectable 10.
I do think it's a good perspective to share, because I too also, like, I don't have interest in becoming a billionaire.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost like, you know, something that you hear enough times as an aspirational creator or aspiring creator, and you're like, oh, that's the goal. You know, or
really? People want to become
I don't
billionaires?
know, or no,
I hadn't thought about that for a second.
maybe not billionaire, but something to that degree. Like you're, again, back
Money
to what
minded,
you said,
though.
like
I think
money minded.
creators
Yeah,
can-
money
yeah.
minded. Yeah, and I totally think that's, you know, that's a strange way to approach creativity, and a way that and push you to probably make different types of decisions.
It's not even strange. It's just wrong. Like, but the problem is, it's like, we could say this all day and people just have to experience it
Yeah, they have to
themselves,
experience it themselves.
which
Yeah.
is a bummer, but just trust me, it's like when you get to the point where it's like, you could just buy what you want and it doesn't matter. Like, you're no more happier or less happier. It's like the lotto versus the paraplegic thing. But by the way, it's not even that it's like, it makes you more happy. It's clear to me that it makes you less happy.
Right.
Because then your relationships change with people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you always are wondering, like, why is someone treating me this way? Like,
Right.
it truly, I think, makes you less happy. And I feel like that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And so it's like the idea of, now that's not to say that, like, well, I don't want to make any money, but it's like, if I'm making money, I'm going to do something
Right.
cool with that money that makes the world a better place. Not, you know what I mean? I don't know. So the money thing as being a motivation or a goal does not resonate with me.
Right.
Is there anything that makes you anxious or nervous in this career, considering you've been in it for so long?
I am shocked that I feel like nobody has, it's so rare to have a long shelf life. And I am shocked people are still watching my videos. Like, I've just thought it would be an ephemeral thing. And, you know, I think there's something to say that, like, I don't know, I'm going to try and hit short form, like, starting the first of the year. But short form is a good example of something coming out of left field that, like, that's where all the eyeballs are going. That's the thing, maybe, that, like, kills the channel. I will say having the Crunch Labs piece is kind of nice. I do feel like it takes some pressure off of, like, having some diversification and like where I'm putting my eggs. It kind of does help with that. You know what I mean? It does give me a little bit of peace of mind that it's not like I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. And if suddenly something drastically changes with YouTube, having this alternate revenue source with Crunch Labs and as just of something to let the YouTube videos even be a loss leader if I had to.
Yeah.
Is kind of nice. You know, Jimmy has this with like his gaming channel. Like he has all those other channels that his main channel can be a loss leader. Like I now have something that can like help support all that. That has helped.
You've kind of created a bit of the Super Mario effect also on the Crunch Labs
That's
side,
true.
right?
Reduce the failure.
You've
of
reduced the
true.
impact of failure on Crunch Labs.
That's a good
because
point.
You have the channel. And I think that's...
Or the opposite.
Or the
even.
opposite, sorry.
Like,
yeah. But when Crunch Labs started... It was
That's right.
channel.
That's
you know,
right. That's
and
right.
now it can be Crunch Labs.
That's right.
And so it's a
you're
really
right.
interesting lesson for creators to always think about like what is the engine that allows you freedom in the next project.
Yeah.
You know?
But look, I'm also very like I won't at some point people will get sick of my videos and like I know that's true and I'm totally okay with that.
Right.
Like I had a great run. Like I have a ton of gratitude for just having had what I've had and
It's a feature, not a bug.
it's a feature, not a friggin' bug.
At some point, the dopamine release of watching a Mark Rober video
it's just gonna go down, and
won't be that
it was
great.
cool.
Yeah.
we had it. We had a good run though. We had a good run. You know,
It is that's gonna stick with me a lot. The concept
Yeah.
of it's a feature, not a bug. I will think about that a lot. You know, you don't have a 5-year plan from here, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
What is the thing in front of you right now that you're trying to tackle? Like, what is the challenge you feel like right now in the business, in your world that you're stepping forward to, that you're trying to tackle?
Yeah, for right now, it's like definitely Crunch Labs and like learning to. I kind of enjoying the challenge of managing a team and picking the right people. And we're not going to do a bunch of different products. We have like the build box, which is like the thing. We're going to do one more, and that's it. We're going to have a store. We're going to be like the Apple approach. Mark my words, 5 years from now, we are not going to have like all these different lines of boxes. We're keeping it very simple. Kind
And
of.
you're
This
gonna
is
have a physical space, like a physical store. Is that what you meant?
online store,
Got it.
not a physical store. But I'm just saying, like, there'll be the younger kind of box, maybe one that's a little bit older, and then if people want to just a really really cool online toy store with creative toys,
Yeah.
it's those three things. Full stop. Period. So I'm not going to, the same way with the YouTube channel where I'm not going to hire 100 employees just for the sake. I'm not going to go get VC funding and scale up just for the sake of funding. we're just going to do it right. We're going to do it slow. There's no rush. I talked with Eric, you know, and Ryan Trey. I guess I remember this, but he's like, something you told us when we were at like one of the creator games was like, I'm not in a rush, like where I feel like I had to do 5 videos a month. So Ryan did his like great series but
Penny series,
yeah, his Penny series. But then he was like, it's okay, like take a month off, like YouTube 2 months off. I released 6 videos in the last 12 months, except for like now I'm pumping them back out because I was kind of stockpiling. But it's like, just wait till you got that banger and it's when it's ready to be released, and release it, and don't feel like there's no rush to become the biggest creator like immediately. Like do it right, take your time, enjoy the ride. Do you know what I mean? Like enjoy the ride. If you're not enjoying the present, like what are you living for? You will never arrive at the moment where you like feel happy about things. So I really like right now I'm really trying to enjoy the early stages of the company and growing it at the same time, like growing the YouTube stuff and just like making videos there that I enjoy. And I don't know.
Is there a world where, let's say, like, you know, people are over your videos at some point, but they're not over Crunch Labs, or you'd be happy just kind of running Crunch Labs?
Possibly. I would say it's more likely that I would just be making videos for 50,000 people, and that someone else could run Crunch Lab. You know, I could be involved. I don't know. I don't know. Again, that goes, you're asking me about a rock that's
you don't know
3/4 of the way across the river. I haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't worry. I don't lose sleep over that. All I know is my challenges for the next week, month, 3 months. You know, I want big picture stuff a year out, but beyond that, it's your crystal ball is just as hazy as mine. And anyone who tells you theirs is clear is lying.
That's great advice. I like that a lot.
And don't believe them. They're just making stuff up.
I feel very, immense sense of gratitude for you spending the day with us and giving us your perspective. Any parting advice to creators?
I don't know. Hopefully, I guess I'll say this. Like, I started YouTube at the right place at the right time. I've got really lucky with like a lot of things that have put me to where I'm at. And if I were to go start from scratch today, like I just don't think in 10 years I would be where I'm at. Like I just got really lucky with things. So I hope you feel inspired, not like bummed out somehow, because it's like, we're talking about, I'm an outlier. Do you know what I mean? So even though I'm an outlier, like results are going to vary. Take something that applies to you and hopefully it levels you up a little bit, but don't compare yourselves to the Jimmy Donaldsons of the world and feel sad when you're not getting what he gets. You know what I mean? Like his amount of views.
I think our career path has been completely different from what I thought it was going to be, because I was comparing, to other creators' career paths. And then once you experience it yourself, you're like, oh. And again, I think for me, in sitting and talking to you and even spending the day here, what feels like a big takeaway is like choosing where you want to receive your feedback from, like choosing what you want your feedback loop to be.
Yeah.
Like what are the, when you put the inputs in, what are the results that actually you're looking for? Because it's all subjective. This isn't objective. Yeah. You said one time like that you love like math and physics because there's like a single source of truth.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's a single source of truth when it comes to success on YouTube.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think that's the thing that you have to be very wary of defining everything based on a single source of truth.
Yeah, and don't say success therefore is views and subscribers.
Exactly.
Like it can look totally different for different people. Like you guys are crushing it with what you're doing, and you don't have the average views for video that Mr. Beast does. But like in your world and what you're trying to achieve, like no one is doing anything close to what you guys are doing.